Most people anticipate they'll reach their 9th decade, but the stark truth is different. A great number don't even approach 85. This isn't due to a singular, dramatic disease. It is the result of unseen daily routines, ignored internal alarms, and thought processes that systematically drain your vitality, your clarity, and your very engagement with existence. If you've passed the age of 62, consider this more than just information. It is an urgent signal. What you commit to over the coming year will define whether you dwindle or finish your course with power. Be sure to listen until the conclusion, as the final point is the one most people are too afraid to voice. They cease physical engagement. To move is to live. Yet for so many as they get older, physical activity is treated as an extra, something to be scheduled in when time permits, when they feel motivated, or when the forecast is favorable. The body, however, does not negotiate. The body meticulously records your actions and your inaction. When you cease intentional movement, your system doesn't merely go on standby. It initiates a process of decline. Muscle fibers unravel, bone structures weaken, your sense of stability wanes, your body's internal rivers become sluggish, and your physiology begins to obey the command you've taught it to do less. The majority of seniors don't actively choose to stop being mobile. It's an insidious creep. You leave your career, the daily walk to the office is gone. More time is spent inside. Taking the stairs now feels like a major effort, so you begin to find ways around them. You find yourself sitting longer, not only for your meals, but throughout the day while watching programs, during periods of rest. Before long, movement becomes a reaction to a need, rather than an action you initiate. You walk only when you must, not because you desire it. You stretch only when there's an ache, not to preserve your flexibility. You venture outdoors only when it is absolutely required. And without you even noticing, both your personal world and your physical body have contracted. But here is the part that many fail to grasp. The issue isn't exclusively physical. Of course, when you neglect to move, your muscles waste away, your joints seize up, your bones turn brittle. The impact, however, runs much deeper. Movement provides crucial stimulation not only for your physical frame, but also for your mind. As you move, you transmit impulses from the soles of your feet up your spine and into your brain stem. These impulses awaken your entire nervous system. They keep your cognition sharp. They stabilize your emotions. They affirm to your body, I am still present, I still have a role to play. The very second you stop deliberately engaging your body, your brain's vibrancy begins to fade. You perceive yourself as slower, less imaginative, and perpetually wary. Your self-assurance starts to erode, and gradually, you begin to lose your sense of self because how we move is a part of our identity. The specific way you walk, stand, reach, and carry yourself sends a constant message to your nervous system that you are actively living, not simply existing. This is why just puttering around the house is insufficient. While it is certainly better than complete stillness, it is not functional conditioning, it's survival-based movement. It's unconscious. It fails to challenge your alignment. It does nothing to fortify your glutes, enhance your gait, or bolster your balance. It just maintains your verticality for the present. But over time, it permits your muscles to fall silent. It lets your core strength dissolve. It invites fragility to take root in places that were once powerful. What you truly require is purposeful physicality, movement that demands focus, discipline, and presence. The goal isn't completing a long race or hoisting immense weights, but rather keeping your joints functioning as intended, maintaining your spinal integrity, and keeping your neural pathways alert. This entails resistance work, even if it's simply using your own body weight or an elastic band. It involves stretching with intention, not merely bending at random. It requires postural drills that train your shoulders to stay back, your neck to remain elongated, and your hips to be steady. And absolutely, it involves walking with intent, daily and outdoors if you can, on varied terrain where you are forced to actively use your balance and step with genuine awareness. Each instance of intentional motion communicates to your nervous system, I am still required here, maintain my readiness, and your physiology answers. Your blood flow increases, your hormonal systems find equilibrium, your digestive processes improve, your breathing grows deeper, your mood elevates. You don't require a membership to a fitness center. You have no need for complicated regimens. You only need to reclaim movement as your daily medicine. Consistent and non-negotiable, because when you stop moving, the descent is not gradual, it arrives swiftly. Initially, in minor ways, your legs feel fatigued after a brief stroll. You stumble more frequently, you feel a new hesitation when you turn. But then it escalates, you begin to shed muscle mass, not from illness, but from inactivity. You start losing bone integrity, not because of your age, but because of a lack of physical stress. And once your posture starts to cave in, your lung capacity diminishes, your equilibrium becomes precarious, and your confidence shatters. Movement is not an activity for when you feel well. It is the very thing that generates well-being. It is what keeps your digestion effective, your joints fluid, your brain sharp. It's what communicates to your body that you are still a part of this world, not merely as a spectator, but as an active participant. So, pose this question to yourself: when did you last move for your own well-being, not just from rote habit, but with clear purpose? When did you last walk not just to the refrigerator, but around your neighborhood with your head held high and your pace confident? When was the last time you stood up straight, reached out wide, and affirmed to your body that it was designed for engagement? Do not allow convenience to pilfer your vitality. Do not allow comfort to erode your strength. Do not permit stillness to become your default state. You don't need long hours. You just need several minutes each day to convey the message: I am present, I am active, I choose to fully live. Because to move is to live, and life, true, vibrant, participatory life, ignites the very moment you resolve to take another step. They eat for emotion, not for energy. A subtle transformation occurs in how many individuals approach food as they age, one that frequently flies under the radar. It begins inconspicuously, missing meals because your appetite has waned, preferring softer items that demand less effort to eat, grabbing something quick and easy because you're dining alone. Over months and years, however, eating shifts from an act of fueling the body to one of soothing the mind. Food becomes a creature of habit, driven by feelings or linked to nostalgia. And while emotional comfort has its place, the peril emerges when it becomes the primary mode of eating. Because your body, particularly after age 62, doesn't need to be pacified, it needs to be supported. The reality is your digestive framework evolves as you get older. Your stomach makes less hydrochloric acid. Your gut microbiome alters. Your system becomes less adept at drawing out specific nutrients, notably protein, magnesium, B vitamins, and vitamin D. You lose lean muscle more readily. You accumulate fat with greater ease, and your body's management of insulin is less responsive than before. This means the dietary patterns that were harmless at 35 now actively work against you after 62. If you persist in eating the old way, your body doesn't just decelerate, it begins to silently dismantle itself, one cell at a time. And yet most seniors continue to structure their meals around familiar comforts. Braids, pastas, whipped potatoes, breakfast cereals, snack crackers, sweets, processed cold cuts, easy, soft, sweet, salty, and unchanging options. These foods provide a sense of comfort, but they are nutritionally bankrupt. They cause blood glucose to soar, provoke inflammation, and leave your cells under-equipped. You might feel sated, but your body is still desperate for authentic nourishment. In time, that desperation manifests as exhaustion, joint discomfort, cognitive haze, a compromised immune response, and slow recovery. You aren't just getting older, you're becoming malnourished. And here's the insight many fail to grasp: nostalgic eating doesn't just impact your physical frame, it impacts your cognition. Heavily processed carbohydrate-dominant foods act as a sedative. They cloud your concentration, they diminish your energy levels. They can trigger inflammatory responses in the brain, impair neurotransmitter activity, and even exacerbate feelings of depression. That afternoon nap you crave after a big lunch, that mental fog that settles in afternoon, that persistently bloated, heavy sensation. It is not your chronology, it is your nutrition. You are what your cells are capable of absorbing, not just what you ingest. And if your cells are inundated with sugar, lacking in fiber, and deprived of essential nutrients, they are unable to mend themselves. They cannot regenerate muscle tissue. They cannot safeguard your organs. They cannot keep your nervous system finely tuned. When you consume food primarily for emotional reasons, you systematically remove vitality from your existence. Your body may continue to operate, but it is not flourishing, it's simply getting by. And that is the gradual slide. No one ever discusses the distinction between aging gracefully and simply decaying. So what is the meaning of eating with clear intent? It means placing function before flavor. Not always, but the vast majority of the time. It involves constructing your meals around a protein source: lean poultry, fish, eggs, beans. Because your muscle is the foundational asset of aging. Without sufficient protein, everything else falters. It involves opting for fiber-dense foods, vegetables, fruits with the peel, whole grains, seeds, because your digestive tract requires activation to remain vigorous. It involves reducing your intake of refined sugar, not solely for managing weight, but because sugar is a primary fuel for inflammation and it depletes your vitality. And it involves proper hydration with water, not sugary drinks, juices, or coffee all day long, because your cells demand clean liquid to work optimally. Eating well is not about punishing restriction, it is about profound respect. Respecting what your physical self requires at this particular chapter of life. Respecting your future self by providing it with strength today. You don't need to adhere to an inflexible diet or become a nutrition scholar. You just need to be profoundly honest. Are you nourishing your body, or are you just trying to numb your feelings? Are you eating to remain clear-headed, mobile and full of life, or just to fill the hours, manage stress, or skip the effort of cooking? A single adjustment can create a ripple effect, exchanging morning cereal for eggs with a side of berries, substituting soda with sparkling water and a twist of lime, tossing a serving of leafy greens onto your plate, foregoing dessert just a couple of nights each week. These tiny decisions transmit a potent signal to your body: I still value you, I am still engaged, I still intend to live well. And your body will answer back with heightened energy, a more stable mood, better sleep, and sharper thinking. You do not require flawless meals, but you absolutely require purposeful ones. Because after 62, food ceases to be solely about pleasure. It is your most potent medicine. It is your forward momentum. It is your private communication to your cells that you are not surrendering. You are, in fact, just getting started. They allow their social sphere to contract. Human bonds are not a mere extravagance. They aren't just a pleasant bonus. For the aging body and mind, connection is a form of medicine. It's what maintains the stability of the nervous system. It's what keeps your thinking sharp, your heart rate even, and your spirit animated. But as years pass, many people start to constrict their social environment, gradually and often without awareness. They make fewer phone calls to friends. They stop going to social functions. They decline invitations to family events. Dialogues become briefer. The days grow more silent. And that encroaching silence fosters a kind of isolation that can inflict more harm than any single illness. When you disconnect from others, your body begins to react, and it's not in a positive manner. Research demonstrates that social isolation elevates your probability of premature death more profoundly than being overweight, more than excessive alcohol use, and even more than a sedentary lifestyle. It increases levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. It hampers your immune response. It amplifies inflammation throughout your body. It is a known contributor to cognitive decline, persistent anxiety, deep depression, and even heart-related diseases. You may still be drawing breath, but your cells behave as though you have already departed. And yet, this is the reality for countless individuals. Sometimes it stems from retiring from a career. You no longer see your colleagues. Your entire routine is upended. Your calendar is wide open, but your sphere of influence has shrunk. In other cases, it's connected to health. Your mobility decreases, and simply getting out of the house feels like an insurmountable chore. Or companions pass on, family members relocate, the phone doesn't ring as much, and you find yourself passing entire days in solitude, not by choice, but because you have come to believe it is an inevitable part of life. But loneliness is not a natural state. It is not simply a passing emotion. It is a physical state that exacts a heavy price on your well-being. What is often missed is that social engagement is a form of neurological training. Each time you engage in a real conversation, your brain is firing across many different networks. You must comprehend language, recall information, interpret non-verbal cues, register emotion, and manage the back and forth of discourse. This keeps your brain vibrant. A good laugh releases dopamine. The act of listening fosters empathy. A simple human touch can lower blood pressure and steady your heart. These are not trivial matters. They are the unseen governors of your internal state, and when they vanish, your body starts its withdrawal from life itself. This is why it is not sufficient to simply be in the presence of others. You require genuine interaction, true connection, the kind that reaffirms that you have a place here, that your personal history is significant, that someone acknowledges you, and that you acknowledge them. This can take the form of a phone call, a coffee meeting, a stroll with a person next door, offering your time once a week, or joining a small interest group. These are not optional activities, they are non-negotiable needs. Because when you feel seen, heard, and valued, your entire biological makeup shifts. You carry yourself with more confidence. Your thoughts become more lucid. You feel more youthful. Your very cells recall how to truly live. Conversely, when people cease reaching out, and even more critically, stop allowing others to connect with them, the deterioration happens faster than anyone anticipates. It may begin as minor forgetfulness. Then, your sleep quality deteriorates. Your drive to do things diminishes. You lose interest in your appearance, your activity level, what you consume. You start to dim from the inside out, long before your physical body gives way. It isn't the heart that fails first. It is the bond with life itself. And yes, the modern world can feel alienating. It's faster paced, more mediated by screens. People text instead of talk. Everything seems filled with noise. But this is precisely why you have to stay engaged with it. You don't need to be current with every new trend or piece of technology. You simply need to remain human. Be present. Take the initiative to begin a dialogue. call your kids, send a message to an old acquaintance, organize a game night, go to that neighborhood gathering, even if you feel a bit of initial unease. Because the longer you remain connected, the longer your body remains vital. And to be perfectly frank, it requires bravery. It's far simpler to pull back, to decline invitations and remain at home. But if you wish to safeguard your health, your memory, and your emotional fortitude, you need other people, not a large crowd. Just a few who infuse your world with life, who test you, who hear you out, who reaffirm that you are still important. You never outgrow the need for connection, you simply grow into a more profound understanding of it. So honestly ask yourself, when was the last time you initiated contact without waiting for someone to contact you? When was the last time you had an authentic, in-person conversation that made you smile, reflect, or reminisce? When was the last time someone gave you a real hug and you felt your entire nervous system calm down? These experiences are not optional extras. They are life's fuel. They are an integral part of your longevity plan, whether you know it or not. Because here is the unvarnished truth: the instant you cease to be a participant in the world, your body begins its preparations to exit it. But the instant you choose to re-engage, to be present, bonded, and alive, everything begins to swing back in the direction of life. You don't need 100 friends. You need connection, deep, reliable, and meaningful. Do not let your world shrink. Instead, grow it, even if it's just by one single conversation. They sleep poorly and consider it unavoidable. One of the most insidious falsehoods concerning aging is that inadequate sleep is an expected outcome. That once you're past 60 or 70, you are simply meant to endure fractured rest, endless nights of tossing and turning, and unwanted pre-dawn awakenings. This notion is not just mistaken, it is dangerous. Deficient sleep is not a benign consequence of getting older. It is a critical warning light, an indication that your body's core functions, your brain, your hormonal system, your immunity, are under duress. And if you disregard this warning, the harm doesn't stop. It silently accumulates, night after night. Most people fail to link sleep quality to their long-term wellness. They view it as simple downtime, optional, flexible, a matter of comfort. But sleep isn't just downtime, it's an active recovery phase. It is the period when your brain flushes out toxins, your immune cells make repairs, your hormones rebalance, your memories are filed away, and your body chooses between healing and degenerating. If you are waking up every 90 minutes, depending on medication to fall asleep, or feeling perpetually groggy and weighed down each morning, you aren't merely fatigued. You are accelerating the aging process. A lack of sleep causes the brain to shrink. This is not a hypothesis, it has been consistently demonstrated in brain imaging studies. A weary brain doesn't just feel sluggish, it literally decreases in volume over time. The regions most heavily impacted are those that manage memory, focus, emotional control, and sound judgment. You begin to struggle with names, you lose your temper more quickly. You find yourself becoming more irritable, anxious, or isolated, not due to a shift in personality, but as a result of poor neural upkeep. And the damage extends beyond the brain. Poor sleep devastates the immune system. A single night of fragmented rest significantly reduces your body's capacity to ward off pathogens. Chronic sleep deficiency elevates inflammation, the very same systemic inflammation associated with Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, diabetes, and major depression. Your joints hurt more. Your digestive system becomes more reactive. Your body heals at a slower pace. The most sinister part is that it all feels manageable at first, just being a bit more tired than usual. But beneath the surface, the damage is steadily mounting. And yet, despite this evidence, many older adults simply resign themselves to poor sleep as a fact of life. They dismiss the symptoms. This is just how I am now. They take a pill, mindlessly scroll on their devices, or keep the television running until they eventually pass out. And they assume this state is adequate rest. But that type of sleep, interrupted, light, and chemically induced, doesn't rejuvenate your body, it simply tranquilizes it. It places you into a state of suspended animation where your nervous system never achieves a full reset. Over time, that relentlessly wears you down in ways that are not always immediately apparent. The answer is not simply more time in bed, it is higher quality sleep. And superior sleep does not occur randomly. It demands intention. It requires that you guard your internal rhythm, your circadian clock, with the same diligence you would guard your health, because they are one and the same. This means reducing light exposure in the evening. Your body gets its cues from brightness. When you keep your surroundings brightly lit late into the night, you are telling your brain that it's still daytime. This delays the release of melatonin and cuts short your vital deep sleep. The simple fix: dim all lights after sundown. Power down screens at least 2 hours before you intend to sleep. Let your biology sense the transition from day to night. Room temperature is also critical. Your internal body temperature needs to decrease by a degree or two to facilitate deep sleep. A very warm room will obstruct this biological process. Sleeping in a cooler space around 67 degrees F or 19 degrees C can significantly lengthen the time you spend in the most powerfully restorative sleep cycles. If you find yourself waking up sweating or agitated, the temperature could be the hidden culprit. Natural supplements like certain forms of magnesium can also be beneficial. I am not referring to sleeping pills, which typically just knock you unconscious without restoring you, but calming aids like magnesium glycinate or L-theanine can help relax the body's systems without forcing sedation. Couple that with breathwork, slow, purposeful breathing before sleep, and you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the internal state that signals safety and allows you to let go. But the most vital factor of all is to revere sleep, to make it a non-negotiable priority rather than an afterthought. You would not regularly skip meals and expect to maintain your strength. Similarly, you cannot consistently skip profound, quality sleep and expect your mind and body to perform effectively. You must approach bedtime as a sacred ritual, a time to disconnect, to decompress, and to ready your body for its nightly healing. If you are having trouble sleeping, do not accept it. Monitor it. Consider a professional sleep evaluation. Check for conditions like apnea. Optimize your bedroom. Design a wind-down routine. Make sleep something you anticipate, not something you struggle with. Because when you rest well, everything in your life improves: your memory, your vitality, your immunity, your mood, your overall resilience. You do not need flawless sleep, but you must have intentional sleep. And you are never too old to fix it. You are never too far along to make improvements. Your body still has the will to heal. Your brain still desires to repair itself, but it cannot do so if you are actively disrupting your natural rhythms every single night. Stop normalizing poor sleep. Stop letting fatigue be your default setting. Choose the kind of rest that truly restores you, not just the kind that gets you through the night. Because the longer you sleep inadequately, the shorter your existence becomes. They exist without a driving force. This is the final point, and it's the most challenging, not because it is uncommon, but because it is pervasive, silent, unarticulated, invisible to others, but felt profoundly within. It's the point at which a person ceases to strive towards something, when all the days begin to merge into one. When there is no goal on the horizon, nothing to construct, nothing to nurture or defend. It isn't a deficiency of time, it is a deficiency of meaning. And once that disappears, the body inevitably begins to wane. A driving force is not a career. It is not a job title. It's not even about your level of output. A purpose is an active choice. A choice to stay dedicated to something that holds significance. This could be diligently managing your health, supporting a person you care for, passing on your accumulated wisdom, aiding others, mastering a new skill, or simply starting each day with the conviction, I still have a contribution to make. It's not about staying occupied, it's about being essential. When your nervous system understands that you are essential, it remains fully engaged. But when it doesn't receive that signal, it begins to power down slowly, hesitantly, but inexorably. The core issue is that many people retire from far more than just their jobs. They retire from exertion, from a forward-looking vision, from the very challenges that kept them mentally acute. The alarm clock is no longer a factor. The deadlines have vanished for the initial period, but excessive stillness is not peace, it is decline in a clever disguise. The body starts to soften, muscles lose their definition, posture gives way, the desire for food wanes, sleep becomes more fragile, hormone levels decline, brain activity lessens, and the spirit, that part of you that once glowed with intent, grows quiet. Not extinguished, just muted. You can observe it in a person's eyes, in their speech, in how they carry themselves. Individuals who once had an upright bearing begin to stoop. Those who used to look ahead now only cast their gaze downward. Their voice becomes quieter. Their choices become more limited. Their pace slows. This is not merely the passage of time. This is the result of a person feeling untethered. When there is no compelling reason to try, no one depending on them, nothing novel to anticipate. And here is the unsparing truth: without a purpose, the human organism starts preparing for its departure. Not all at once, but step by step. The immune response weakens. Memory is deemed less crucial, so the brain begins to let it go. The eyes don't focus with the same precision. The spine starts to compress. The flow of blood slows. These are not just consequences of time passing, they are consequences of a disconnect from meaning. And the body, being incredibly intelligent, will not allocate energy where there is no clear intention. But there is tremendous good news: a purpose can be rekindled at any stage of life, by any person. It does not demand a monumental mission or a stage for all to see. It begins with one simple inquiry: what is still within my power to give? That question itself is powerful. It ignites a spark within the nervous system. It brings clarity back into the eyes. It firms up one's posture. It strengthens the rhythm of the heart. It informs your entire biology that something important is still happening here, so keep going. Purpose can be found in small things. Tending to your garden with mindfulness, calling your grandchild and truly listening to them, mentoring a younger person in your community, reading a challenging new book, learning a different recipe, walking to stay strong for a loved one, helping someone else navigate their own fears. You do not require accolades. You just require a sense of responsibility, even if it's only to your own well-being. Because the moment you assume ownership, the moment you resolve that your life is still in full swing, everything starts to shift. You eat with more care, you sleep more soundly, your thoughts become more organized. Why? Because the body is a servant to the mind, and the mind is guided by purpose. When you declare to yourself, "I am not finished yet," your cells register the message, your brain starts to adapt, your nervous system retunes itself, you cease to drift, you begin to advance again, perhaps gently, but undeniably forward. Do not let society persuade you that your most valuable years are in the past. Do not accept the falsehood that retirement equates to an abandonment of meaning. You do not retire from being needed. You do not retire from being the leader of your own life. You do not retire from showing you care. If you awoke this morning, then this day is yours to direct. If you are drawing breath, you are still being invited to take part. Do not live reactively. Do not float through your days. Do not treat your life as if it were a waiting area. The clock has not worn down. It continues to tick. The real question is, are you still making an appearance? Purpose does not magically appear. You forge it with your decisions, with your focus, with your will. Select something that makes it worthwhile to show up. Because the moment you exist without a purpose, your body begins to question its own reason for being here. And the moment you live with purpose once more, your body remembers its role, and it starts to reconstruct your life from the inside out. You do not need a grand cause, but you do need a reason, a garden, a grandchild, a journal, a community, a belief, anything at all that reaffirms, I have value. A final piece of wisdom. Most people don't pass away because they get old. They pass away because they have ceased their participation in life itself. Do not wait for decline to serve as your reminder to live. Live your life now, with physicality, with proper fuel, with human bonds, with restorative sleep, and with a driving mission. Because the finish line is never guaranteed. What matters is the quality of your journey.